Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition to the Boy Podcast. Hope you guys all had a great weekend. Gonna try to battle through again today. My voice is still not great. Still going through this cold. It doesn't wanna leave. I'm not big on taking Tylenol or Advil, so I'm sure my mother would probably say that this is my own fault that it's lingering this long. But nevertheless, we had a full slate of NFL games yesterday, and we got to talk about it. I gotta try to figure out what the hell is happening in this league, where I go into the week and really, after 10 weeks of this NFL season, my one big conclusion is that there's no great team in the NFL. There just isn't. There's not one great team this season. There are a bunch of good teams. The Green Bay Packers are a good team. Their defense has allowed 7 points over the last 2 weeks to teams quarterbacked by Russell Wilson Jr. III, Super Bowl champion, and Patrick Mahomes II, Super Bowl champion. That's pretty impressive. The Los Angeles Rams, who play tonight on Monday Night Football, 7-2, are a good team. No doubt about it. But they have their flaws. They're coming off a loss to the Tennessee Titans, sans Derrick Henry. The Tennessee Titans are 8-2, tied for the best record in the National Football League. But are the Titans a great team? No. They're a good team. They're a Super Bowl caliber team with Derrick Henry. In this NFL season, you could possibly make them the front runner. Because you look at Kevin Byard, you look at Harold Landry, Jeffrey Simmons on that D-line, they jump all over the football. The secondary's gotten better. Their defense has completely flipped, like the Dallas Cowboys. But without Derrick Henry, do I bank on them going to a Super Bowl? No. That brings us to the Dallas Cowboys. 7-2 as well. A dominating performance yesterday, coming off a loss to Denver that makes a lot of people's head scratch. Now, every team has a loss where you go, okay, what happened there? Arizona got thumped by Carolina yesterday. What happened there? But my point being is I look across NFC, AFC divisions, and I can't find a great team. I can't find stability. Yesterday, the Kansas City Chiefs entered the game against Vegas as the last team in their division. Last place. They're now first after Denver, the Chargers, and Vegas all lost yesterday, while the Chiefs won. That's the season. The Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins is having an unbelievable season. 18 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Playing some pretty great football. Justin Jefferson is continuing his second season is just as good as his first. And yet they're 4-5. Sure, they beat the Chargers yesterday, but does anybody have any faith in the Minnesota Vikings? No. This league is so chaotic this year. Did anybody have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers losing to the Washington football team yesterday? Did somebody have Taylor, don't call me Tyler Heineke, outplaying Tom Brady? Tom Brady coming off a bye week. That's just the season. Jacksonville over Buffalo. Detroit and Pittsburgh playing one of the wildest games I've ever seen. The overtime was as poorly played as you're going to see. I thought Detroit would win the game. They should have. But the funny thing is, Pittsburgh should have won it twice as well. So, through all this, what you see is just chaos and teams all join together. You look at the NFC. The first seed, the Green Bay Packers at 8-2. They lead the Arizona Cardinals head-to-head record, so they own the top seed. Well, Green Bay won 17-0 yesterday over the Seattle Seahawks. Like I said, that defense has allowed 7 points over the last 2 weeks. Eric Stokes, Kevin King, Adrian Amos in the safety position playing great football. Aaron Rodgers coming off getting immunized, getting a week break for Jordan Love to play. Well, wasn't his best day. And to me, I have no faith in the Packers. Because what have they done the last 2 years? They've gotten an NFC Championship game, and they've lost. Last year, they're at home. They had home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They lost to Tampa Bay. But where does that bring us here? Where does this lead? Green Bay, Arizona, I have more faith in Green Bay. We haven't seen Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins play over the last 2 weeks. That's worrisome. DeAndre Hopkins is one of the best receivers in football. Kyler Murray is one of the most dynamic players in all of football. But to be a dynamic player, you have to be on the field. And those two men just haven't been able to accomplish that. So that's a worry. And yeah, you dressed Colt McCoy yesterday. And yeah, you just beat a division rival on the road the previous week. You play Carolina at home and you lose that way? I mean, there's losing, and then there's playing Carolina at home and losing 34-10. PJ Walker was at quarterback for Carolina. Cam Newton got some play, but come on, he threw 4 passes. Christian McCaffrey was back. He had over 100 all-purpose yards, over 150, but that doesn't change the story here. So if there's no running game, no Chase Edmonds, who's injured, where does this team go? So there's that. Packers and Cardinals. So those are the top 2. Number 3, Dallas. Well, yesterday was an impressive day for the Dallas Cowboys. You're coming off a loss to Denver, a game you should have won. You're at home. You're at home again against Atlanta, who's coming off a big win, the last-second field goal over the New Orleans Saints, division rival. And you could tell this was Dallas's day from the opening drive. Dak Prescott was the man yesterday. He played like the guy we saw through the first 8 weeks, and last week he just had an egg. The first drive of the game, this is how you know, 2 clutch third down conversions. And one was a touchdown to CeeDee Lamb. The other was to Michael Gallup on the outside. He runs a little in route. Beautiful throw, beautiful catch. Michael Gallup's back in the lineup. Another big addition. You got CeeDee Lamb, who continues to emerge as a number 1 receiver. Amari Cooper is the number 1 receiver. And then Michael Gallup's a perfect guy who can run intermediate. He can run deep routes. You got Dalton Schultz, and you got a 2-headed monster at running back. So their offense, it was a blip. I don't worry about their offense because it has every factor you'd want. And it also includes an offensive line where the best offensive lineman the Dallas Cowboys have is definitely, I would say, Tyron Smith. Zach Martin at guard is great, but Tyron Smith, the left tackle, and I make this argument for any team, you could have great guards. Quentin Nelson is going to be a Hall of Famer. He plays for the Indianapolis Colts. He's a right guard, going to be a Hall of Famer, 3-time All-Pro. However, I'd rather have an All-Pro left tackle because I know he's going to protect my quarterback. What has Tyron Smith done? Make 6 Pro Bowls, 4-time All-Pro, going to the Hall of Fame as well, and he doesn't let Dak take huge hits. On that left side, he's a mammoth of a man, and it just plays different with him there. Pass game and run game, because you see the holes that this Dallas offensive line creates. And that's what leads to play action. That's what leads to big plays for this team to go to Gallup, to go to CD Lamb. And so their offense was great. I didn't have a whole lot of worries about their offense. But yesterday, what was the most impressive? It's after a week where their defense really let them down. Trayvon Diggs was getting burnt. Vic Fangio came out and said, we have the blueprint, the blueprint for the blueprint, for how to beat the Dallas Cowboys. And well, I don't know if Atlanta just didn't watch the tape or because on defense, the Cowboys were all over the football. Yesterday, they blocked the punt, forced a fumble, 3 interceptions. That's what the special teams and defense did yesterday, including Trayvon Diggs getting an interception so he can get some confidence back. But they blitzed the hell out of Matt Ryan. They were all over receivers. Nobody could get separation. Kyle Pitts was the only guy early that was having any kind of impact on that game. And this game was over at the half. It was 36-3 Cowboys at the half. Dak Prescott finished the day 24 for 31, 296, 2 touchdowns. Pretty good day. No mistakes. Where you had Ezekiel Elliott, 14 carries, 41 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tony Pollard, 11 carries, 42 yards. Again, not a lot in the ground, but they punched it in when they had to. CD Lamb, 2 touchdown receptions. It was just a beautiful day for this team. It was all Cowboys. That's just what they did. They had a block punt return for a touchdown. They did everything right, and it was a terrible day for Atlanta. But for that defense to answer, and Matt Ryan's been playing some really, really good football. It's not like you're playing a scrub. It's not like you're playing, who came in for Matt Ryan? Josh Rosen. Okay, he's a scrub. But this was not Josh Rosen. Matt Ryan yesterday went 9 for 21 for $117 and 2 interceptions. Again, you look at it, Kyle Pitts had 4 receptions for 60 yards. He had that in the first 2 drives. So that means he was out of the game after that. Zacchaeus, 2 catches, 22. Wayne Gallman, a backup running back, had 1 for 21. Cordell Patterson, who got injured on his first reception of the game, had 1 reception for 14 yards. Just nothing doing. Nothing doing for this team. So they look good. Impressive day for Dallas. I'll get to Atlanta in a minute and kind of where the NFC ranks when it comes to, playoff standings and whatnot. Tampa Bay. Whew. Yesterday was a puzzler because you saw Taylor Heineke. I repeat, Taylor Heineke do Tom Brady things to Tom Brady. What's the best way, really the only way to beat Tom Brady? Well, that would be to control the clock. That is the key to beating Tom Brady. And what did Washington do? They controlled the clock. They had possession the entire game. They didn't give it back to Brady where he had time to make plays. Where you look at this time of possession yesterday. The Washington football team possessed the ball for 39 minutes and 8 seconds. Tampa had it for 20 minutes and 52 seconds. That says it all. If you look at it, who had more yards per play? Tampa. Who had more passing yards? Washington, but only by 6. And again, he had it for 19 more minutes. 1 more trip to the red zone, but it was all about time of possession. And great first half, but you knew Brady was going to come out in the second half, play well, and his second drive goes down the field, touchdown. What does Heineke do? Answers it right away. Goes back down the field with quickness, finding guys open. Terry McLaurin, finding Antonio Gibson, using J.D. McKissick in the pass game. Goes down the field, scores a touchdown. But then Brady comes back, but they get a 3-and-out, and I'm thinking, okay, game's over. Now you got it. What does Washington do? Fumble the football. Great field position for Brady. He throws it to Cameron Brate, touchdown. Like, okay, 10 minutes left. This game, it's a 3-point game here. This game's over. Taylor Heineke goes on a 16-play, 10.5-minute drive, eats the entire clock in the fourth quarter. Brady gets the ball back, down 10 with 33 seconds left in the game. That's how you win football games. This wasn't so much on Tom Brady. Pardon me. Tom Brady. He did have 2 interceptions, which could have been better, no doubt. He could have had a better day. But this Tampa defense is not the same as it was last year. They're not forcing turnovers. They're not getting stops. I mean, you would have won the game yesterday if you got some stops, but they're not getting any. Their secondary is beat up. They have to play guys like D. Delaney back there who got a flag in the end zone, which led to a touchdown. It doesn't look like the same team. And I do think Brady can rally the troops, but you're coming off a bye week. Last year, Tampa went into the bye 7-5. They had a late bye week, which I prefer over an earlier one for teams. But after that bye week, they did not lose a game. They went undefeated after week. They had their bye week 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and the 4 playoff games they won. After this bye week, they lose to Washington, who is now 3-6 on the season. They're not going to the playoffs. Now, the sky's not falling for Tampa Bay. But all I'm saying is their defense doesn't stop anybody. It doesn't scare anyone. You look at the quarterbacks. Kyler Murray's not going to be afraid to play against this Tampa defense. Aaron Rodgers is not going to be as afraid as he was last year because Shaq Barrett, Levante David, these JPP, Vita Vea, they're not doing what they did last year. Not yet, anyway. And that secondary can be had. You're telling me Devontae Adams can't chew it up? DeAndre Hopkins? CeeDee Lamb? So Tampa's vulnerable. And that bodes well for the rest of the NFL because they're not what they once were. It gives everybody a good chance. Right behind Tampa is the Los Angeles Rams, who I bet you play tonight. So they're idle yesterday. They're in San Francisco tonight. Odell Beckham Jr. will make his Ram debut. They got news over the weekend that their number 2 receiver prior to Odell signing, Robert Woods, tore his ACL in practice on Friday. So this is a big development. Obviously, signing Odell is now even more important because he will be getting more targets. Robert Woods was second on the team in receptions and yards, and he's a key part of the offense. So Odell, he may return punts, is the report, but he might also. He's going to be the number 2 receiver. Van Jefferson's gotten better. They got Higbee. Obviously, Cooper Kupp's going to be that number 1 guy who's got over 1,000 yards receiving already has 10 touchdowns on the season. But Odell is a special player when he wants to be, and it's going to see it tonight. What kind of connection does Stafford and Odell have, and can he be a number 2 receiver on a championship team? Because yes, the Rams lost last week to Tennessee. Like I said, every team in this division has an ugly loss. Green Bay lost to New Orleans week 1. That was an ugly, ugly loss. Tampa losing when they lost to the Rams, that game wasn't close. Yesterday, you could argue it's a bad loss. 2-16 prior to the game. You can't lose that game. Cardinals get skunked basically yesterday against Carolina. That's not a good loss. So all these teams, the Rams losing to, like I said, Tennessee, all these Dallas to Denver, all these teams have a bad loss. What can you do to overcome it? The Rams get to prove that tonight. The Bucs lost to the Saints. They lose to Washington their very next game. So it's interesting team because I think they can go to Super Bowl. I really do. Matthew Stafford, I have my worries about because the guy's never won anything in the NFL. He's never won a division. He's never won a playoff game. Forever it's been, well, he's in Detroit, which of course there's validity to that. Playing in Detroit for the Lions is playing for the abyss, playing for the devil to win. But at the same time, it's put up or shut up. And, he's got all the talent in the world. He's got arguably two of the best defensive players in football on the same team. We have Aaron Donald, who's won 3 Defensive Players of the Year. Jalen Ramsey, who I believe is the best cover corner in football. You just acquired Von Miller to play opposite of Aaron Donald. You also got Leonard Floyd, who's an elite talent. They're stacked. They're a stacked team. They've sold out all their draft capital to win now, which I totally appreciate because that's how you should operate a business. When you want to win, you go all in. You don't say, well, it might cost me an extra cent here. No, you push your chips in the middle and say, let's go. You believe in your guys. Say, I did all I could for you. Now it's up to you. Go bleep and do it. So I think the Rams can, but it's still, again, they're coming off a loss. How did they react to a loss? The way that Tampa did? Or can they come out tonight on the road at a divisional opponent and set a new tone? So those are the good teams, because none of those teams are great in the NFC, at least not yet. I mean, we have a lot of season left, but we are 10 weeks in. You normally see a team that you're like, okay, in 2007, the New England Patriots were an elite team, obviously undefeated. That was well known. I think of the 2016 Cowboys. They were 12-4. They were an elite team. A lot of people thought they were even with Dak as a rookie, Zeke as a rookie, they could go to a Super Bowl, upset by Green Bay on the road in the playoffs, but they were a front runner that season. Every year seems to have a team that's just kind of that front runner that you expect to win. Green Bay kind of was in that position. The Chiefs have been in that position the past number of years. They've been knocked down a peg this season. Obviously, they get a big win last night, which we'll touch on. But, my point being is you normally see a team. So those are the good teams in NFC. So there's 7 playoff spots. Those are the first 5. Green Bay, Arizona, Dallas, Tampa, Los Angeles. The next 2 are New Orleans at 5-4 and Carolina at 5-5. So Carolina obviously has to play their bye. New Orleans already has had their bye, but we look here. New Orleans has lost 2 in a row. Tennessee yesterday, they lost to Atlanta the week before. I don't believe New Orleans is a very good team. Trevor Siemian at quarterback, Taysom Hill, it doesn't really matter. They hang tough in games. They lost yesterday because they couldn't convert a 2-point conversion after scoring a touchdown with 1 minute and 15 seconds left. But, it was close, but not close enough for New Orleans. Then there's Carolina. Who the hell knows? This team started 3-0. Now they're 5-5. Cam Newton's back. It was reported today that he's going to be taking first team reps in practice this week. So he's going to be the starting quarterback moving forward for Carolina. But neither of these teams I have faith in, but some of them are going to the playoffs. Could they cause problems? Well, it would be Arizona, Carolina. We just seen Arizona play Carolina. Carolina won that game. So who knows? Dallas would play New Orleans. Dallas, I think they play later in the year, so that could be interesting to see that matchup. Who knows? Then behind them, you have Minnesota, 4-5, Atlanta, 4-5, and Philly at 4-6. I think Minnesota's a good team. I think they are. I want to look at their schedule here, pull that up for you guys. So Minnesota coming up has Green Bay at home next week. Big game because you don't want to be 4-6, but you're playing Green Bay at home. You got to win that game. You got to find a way to win that. I definitely think they can, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do. Even though it's Green Bay, it's a divisional game. They usually beat Green Bay once every year, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them win that game. They go to San Francisco. Not an easy place to play, but San Francisco is not what they used to be. Then they go to the Lions. You can always win that game. They play the Steelers on a Thursday night. I like their schedule, to be quite honest here. Doesn't mean they're going to win it, but then they're at the Bears. Not an easy place to play in December, but they're used to it. They have to go to Soldier Field every year. Then they host the Rams on Boxing Day. That's not an easy game. Then they got their last 2 games are the Vikings here. They go to Green Bay on Sunday Night Football. Then they finish with, I believe, the Bears. Yeah. So not murderer's row, but there are some, you got to play Green Bay twice. You got to play the Rams, but you do get the Bears twice. You get the Lions in there. So that's potential. New Orleans is a team I could see dropping out just because I don't have faith in Trevor Siemian. I don't have faith in Taysom Hill, quite frankly. And an interesting game this week for me. Obviously, you want to see Carolina, see what they could do. Atlanta plays this week against New England on Thursday night, so they need that game. But Carolina is going to play Washington football team. Ron Rivera, the head coach, being Cam Newton's former head coach. So what happens there? The interesting game this week for me is New Orleans against the 4-6 Eagles. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to make the playoffs. And do I like their defense? No. Do I like their offensive line? Sometimes. But Jason Kelce, I nearly, when I saw him get injured yesterday, I said, uh-oh. Lane Johnson's back. Mel Lotta is a beast at left tackle. So, do I love Jalen Reagor? No, because he fumbles, and that angers me. They don't have Zach Ertz anymore, but I think Dallas Goedert is better than Zach Ertz right now in his career. So, they have some things. But why do I've heard forever, and I hear this on the mothership, Eagles are going to move on from Jalen Hurts. Even my buddy Ryder on the podcast said this on Saturday when we talked about quarterback movement. The Philadelphia Eagles should not be moving on from Jalen Hurts. They should not be looking to upgrade at quarterback. Jalen Hurts is the future. Jalen Hurts is the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback of the future, period. Point in the period. This guy has athleticism. He's got an arm. And he's starting to get a connection with rookie wide receiver, first-round pick Devonta Smith. Another guy who has a chip on his shoulder, who was told, you're too small. Yeah, you might have won the Heisman in college, but you're wide open. You can't get separation. You'll never make it in the NFL. Well, it took him a few weeks, but what did he do yesterday? Oh, did he catch 2 touchdowns? What did he do last week? Oh, caught for over 100 yards, touchdown. I don't know. Did that happen? That happened. And I just look at Jalen Hurts and I like everything I see from the guy. I don't think it's, we got to find a successor. No. He went into Denver yesterday. Denver's not an easy place to play. Yeah, are they a great team? No. But they're not. It's not an easy place to play. And he goes 60 for 23, $178. He threw an interception, but he also threw 2 touchdowns to Devonta Smith, including Devonta Smith making a great grab in the back of the end zone. He also ran the ball 14 times for 53 yards. But you look, they have balance now. Jordan Howard, off the scrap heap, who was a Philadelphia Eagles first rounder back in the day, went to Chicago, put on the practice squad, had 12 carries for 83 yards yesterday. Boston Scott had 11 for 81. They have balance. They ran the ball for almost 200 yards. You're throwing the ball well. You're getting you forced a fumble. Darius Slay returned a fumble for a touchdown. Maybe it won't happen, but I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to make the playoffs, and it starts with the Saints. I think they're going to win that game. I think they're going to win against the Saints at home. And then they're in an easier division. The Eagles down the stretch, they go to the Giants. Again, it's not easy because it's a divisional opponent, but I'd rather play the Giants than a hell of a lot of other teams. Then they go to the Jets. Take that every day of the week. That's a pretty nice little surprise. Here, take them. Then the Eagles. Let's see what they have next. Can't find the game. Maybe it's their bye week. No, I think they've already had their bye week. So the Eagles. No, they haven't. No, they're 4-6. Then they get their bye week. Then they play at home to Washington. Take that every day of the week. Again, these are all division games. You love it. Home to the Giants. Love it again. Yes. They'll likely lose one of those games, but still, with this, you're only going to make the last spot at Washington. And then they finish against the Cowboys. So basically, every game they have left is a divisional game. Their division stinks. Yes, Washington will have some momentum after winning yesterday, but they're also still not a very good football team. I think, like I said, Minnesota's got a tougher schedule. Carolina has to play Tampa twice and New Orleans again. So that's not, they can also play Atlanta in there, but that's not an easy schedule. You get, obviously Minnesota's got Chicago twice, they got Detroit, but you got to play Green Bay twice, home and on the road. Those aren't gimme games by any means. So the NFC is just, San Francisco is 3-5. They're out of it. They're going to lose tonight. They're going to be 3-6. Washington's 3-6. I don't have any faith that they're going to get back into this. New York, please. Seattle. Oof. Sky's falling at Seattle. Seattle. I think we're seeing Russell Wilson's last days as a Seattle Seahawk. He went on the Dan Patrick show last offseason, and he basically listed off 4 teams that he would be okay if the Seahawks are going to trade him. 4 teams he would accept a trade to. New Orleans, Vegas. You believe that? That'd be interesting. Chicago and Philly. But I look and say, well, I think Vegas has always looked to upgrade their quarterback. I think Derek Carr's a good quarterback, but maybe Chicago. I'm sticking with Justin Fields. He's my guy. You draft him. Maybe Philly looks into that situation. Would he want to go to Miami? Would he change his mind? Miami be a fit for him? But the 3-6, he played terrible yesterday. 2 interceptions in the end zone. That just can't happen. And that team's just, DK Metcalf gets ejected from the game. Pete Carroll's been there for 12 years. I just think they need to change the scenery. They're always a playoff team. And I don't think Pete Carroll should be fired. I'm not saying that because all he does is make the playoffs. I mean, the Jets would kill human beings to have a coach that would be as successful as Pete Carroll has been in Seattle. But maybe it's a quarterback change. I just think the philosophy of this team is we're going to run the football and play great defense, and Russell Wilson's just a cog in the machine. And Russell Wilson, it doesn't matter. He's a nice guy. He's always tweeting about God. Okay. Tweet to God all you want, buddy. But what you're always saying, you want to let Russ cook? Well, you're being a little less selfless, like Jesus supposedly did. You're being a more selfish, which is perfectly fine because I relate to selfish. Who doesn't like being, everybody's selfish. Most selfish people in the world are selfish. Embrace the selfish. Embrace it. But maybe he wants a new opportunity where he looks at Seattle and says, okay, we don't have a running game. Alex Collins was our running back last night. Our defense isn't what it used to be. It's not that great, quite frankly. And I have DK Metcalf, I have Tyler Lockett, and we still can't win. We're 3-6. We can't get back to a Super Bowl after that collapse against the Patriots. So 0 point. It's the first time ever in his career that he was shut out yesterday. Losing 17-0 at Lambeau Field. Ugly, ugly day for Russell Wilson, the Seahawks. And I believe the beginning and the end of that era for Russell Wilson in Seattle. So, that's kind of the overhaul of the NFC right now. Obviously, there's some good teams, some teams right on the wire I think we'll see some action. Now you go to the AFC. Oh, this is even a tougher conference to decipher, in my humble opinion. So, first place right now is the Tennessee Titans. I mentioned that off the top. Tennessee, best record in the AFC. But, again, they're 8-2, but you don't have Derrick Henry. Foreman and Adrian Peterson were running the ball yesterday. A.J. Brown was hardly involved. Julio Jones is on injured reserve. Just things keep hammering away at Tennessee. I like Ryan Tannehill a lot. But do I think there are better teams than Tennessee and the AFC? Yeah. And interesting game in a couple weeks where Tennessee has Houston next week. So that's basically a bye week. You'll win that. You'll be 9-2. Then they go to New England. That's a tough matchup. Who wins that? That's a game where Tennessee, that's a spotlight game for Tennessee on the road. I mean, they've already had so many big wins. I mean, they beat the Rams. They beat Buffalo, beat Kansas City. But having another signature win like that would do a lot for me. This would be a major win, another one without Derrick Henry, where Ryan Tannehill can prove himself. He had a rushing touchdown yesterday, but the passing attack hasn't exactly been lethal. Sans Derrick Henry. That brings us to Buffalo. They have the number one ranked. Their defense allows the least amount of yards per game in the NFL. 274. So that's great. They're 10th in rush yards per game. So that's not bad. 6th in pass. So their offense, is 5th in the NFL. But just seems like they're missing something. Yesterday, it was a great day for the Bills because they played the Jets, quite frankly. And Mike White, who was the next great quarterback, fell off a cliff. He had 4 interceptions. Buffalo Bills defense could suffocate people, and they did. But Josh Allen, pardon me, as I can tell, my voice is starting to peril here. He went 21 for 28, 366 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception. But bigger than that, the Buffalo Bills had 4 rushing touchdowns from 4 different players. Devin Singletary ran one in. Matt Breida ran one in. Zach Moss and Isaiah McKenzie, a wide receiver, all had rushing touchdowns yesterday. So that was impressive. Stephon Diggs had over 100 yards receiving, as did Gabe Davis. So an impressive day for the Bills. But again, you played the Jets. I'm not giving you points for beating the Jets. They have the Colts next week. That is a game that's worth watching and keeping tabs on, because both these teams are good. Tied with Buffalo, but third place is Baltimore. Baltimore just lost to the Dolphins. Obviously, that's the last thing we remember seeing. I love Lamar Jackson more than most, but I look at this team and say, you don't have great running backs. Your offensive line is okay. The defense, obviously, Marcus Peters would be huge, but Averett as a corner continues to get burned, continues to have struggles. Devontae Parker really took advantage. Devontae Parker took advantage of him on Thursday night. So Baltimore, I don't have a whole lot of faith. They have to play at the Bears this week, so that's not my worry. But I do worry about this team long term when I go, where what's happening here? What's gonna happen here? And they're in a tough division. Cleveland had a tough loss yesterday, but you got, like I said, you got Pittsburgh who tied, but it's Cincinnati. So who knows where that division goes? Maybe it bodes well for Baltimore, but that these teams are starting to collapse late in the season. That brings us to Kansas City. And I've been tough on Kansas City over the last couple of weeks. I haven't written them off like some people. I won't give myself that, but they look terrible. Over the last 3 weeks, they looked inept on offense. They looked like didn't know what the hell they were doing. And that was until last night, where even though I don't think Mahomes played that great, I think he played okay last night. If you look at his stat line, he played fantastic. But he missed some throws that he normally makes last night. But what you saw was that Chiefs defense, it reverted back to what it used to be. And that was Patrick Mahomes being able to, freelance and find guys down the field. You saw Travis Kelce get his mojo back. He looked like Travis Kelce of old. Like in the past couple of weeks, he could get separation. He looked banged up. I don't know what was going on. This connection wasn't there. Last night, he had eight catches for $119. He was early and often in this game. That's who Mahomes is going to. Daryl Williams, the running back, had 9 receptions for 101 yards and a touchdown. He had Tyreek Hill had 7 catches for 83 yards, 2 touchdowns. Byron Pringle had a touchdown reception, and Noah Gray. So Patrick Mahomes went 35 for 50, 406 yards, and 5 touchdowns in Vegas, crushing the Raiders 41-14. This was, they ran the ball, see here, 23 times, which is actually a good amount of times for the Chiefs. I still don't think it's enough. Daryl Williams is a good running back. You got Jerick McKinnon, who's in the backfield, Derek Gore, and you could use Mecole Hardman, Tyreek Hill more often. But it was good to see for Kansas City just some competency. To see them just play their style of football where Travis Kelce was in the middle field. He was breaking tackles, getting yak yards. Tyreek Hill was used creatively on the outside where they spread him out. Then he, jump cut in, then he cut back outside. That's how basically got his 2 touchdown receptions, doing it the same way. And then, Mahomes spreading it out. Daryl Williams get a lot of catches, like I mentioned. Byron Pringle, catching underneath routes, going to Noah Gray on a 4th and goal gamble. He goes to a backup tight end who makes the catch. So an impressive night for Kansas City, but they sit in 4th. And this is really where you go and say, okay, where do we go from here? Because if the Kansas City Chiefs play like they did last night, even though I don't think they played that great, I think the Raiders were just really terrible last night. But if you have an offense that looked competent, if you have Patrick Mahomes that could find his game and play great in the second half of the season and be that MVP, be the Super Bowl champion that we know him to be, I'll take the Chiefs because I see them get to back-to-back Super Bowls. I've seen Mahomes win an MVP. I've seen this team win a Super Bowl. I'll take them over the Bills. I'll take them over Baltimore. All they do is beat Baltimore. The Tennessee, Tennessee's a team that that gets to the playoffs every year, but they're without their best player. And I don't trust this team to beat a team like Kansas City in that clutch moment. It's huge for Tennessee to keep winning and get that first round bye because I think they need it more than any other team in football because it's an outside chance. But who knows? You have a freak beast of an athlete like Derrick Henry. Maybe with a bye week, maybe he's back by the divisional round. Could he potentially get in the game? That could be the difference between you going on a Super Bowl run and you going home, the first week of January. So that's something to consider as well. But, this Chiefs team last night, they did get an interception. You saw them make some plays. Derek Carr did have a great game. He looked frustrated the entire night. So the Chiefs are the team kind of you look at and say, what's happening? That brings us to the 5th seed, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're 5-3-1. So they would play the Chiefs if the season ended today. Well, Saturday night, we learned that Big Ben Roethlisberger was placed on the reserve COVID-19 list, meaning he was a close contact because he is vaccinated. But, that meant that Mason Rudolph was going to start against Detroit, and it was just a rainy day in Pittsburgh. It poured the entire day. Just for a reference of this game, Jared Goff threw 25 passes, but prior to overtime, he threw 12 the entire game. They ran the ball. DeAndre Swift ran the ball for Detroit 33 times for $130. And then you had Jefferson run for a touchdown. Abuike ran for a touchdown, but the passing game was non-existent. Jared Goff was asked to do so little for the Detroit Lions. It was about defense and the running game. So this crazy game, Mason Rudolph throws the ball 50 times. I don't know how the hell that happens. But Najee Harris runs for over 100 yards. Mason Rudolph scrambles 4 times for 36. Ray McCloud at 9 receptions. DeAndre Johnson at 7. Freiermuth. But we go to overtime. Troy gets possession. They punt back to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh think, okay, here we go. They're going to go down the field. Mason Rudolph throws a strike down the field. The Oklahoma State product throws one to his buddy, Dante Johnson. Dante Johnson breaks the tackle, going down the field. Going to get the field goal range for sure. Drops the football. Fumble recovered by Detroit at the Detroit 47. So right around midfield, great field position in the rain. So he goes to the bench saying, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. We're done. So that brings that, then Detroit goes out the field. They get a penalty on a 3rd and 5. So that brings it back 10, but they pick up a few. In field goal range for Santoso. He botches this kick worse than I've ever, not even close, just a chunk the kick. So you think Pittsburgh's now got great field position. They can go win the game. So now Pittsburgh's got it. They're going down the field. They're chugging along. Mason Rudolph throws the pass to Pat Freiermuth, the rookie, makes the grab, but then takes a hit. The ball pops out with 18 seconds left in overtime, recovered by Detroit. The game ends in a tie. This is just Pittsburgh to me. It's obviously Detroit. Detroit. This is the biggest win of the. It's not a win, but it's a win because you didn't lose coming off a bye. But for Pittsburgh, you can't tie Detroit. I'm sorry, you can't. I don't care if Mason Rudolph's in at quarterback. I don't care that Chase Claypool, the great Notre Dame receivers, hurt. You need to win that game. And two key receivers fumbled the ball. This wasn't on Mason Rudolph. He had an interception earlier in the game, but he put them in a position to win. Yes, they caught a break with Santoso, the kicker, just being completely inept. But two fumbles. Mike Tomlin's got to be livid today because you're looking at Freiermuth, a rookie out of Penn State, and you're looking at Dante Johnson, who's been on this roster long enough. Secure the football. I don't care if it's raining. That's not an excuse. Put two hands on the ball. And I look at this team and say, could they make the playoffs? Yes. But Big Ben is not what he used to be. He gets the ball quicker than anybody. He loves throwing it to Najee Harris. Obviously, Mason Rudolph stood in the pocket longer. He's a guy that ran the ball 4 times for 36 yards. He's got some athletic ability. But I don't love the Steelers. I don't love them to make the playoffs and really be a threat because they're just not that great. And the 7th seed is Los Angeles, the Chargers. That's who they play next week. So the Steelers play at the Chargers on Sunday Night Football. That's a massive game for both teams because the Chargers are coming off a loss to the Vikings, where I'm sure they want some revenge. But before we get to the bottom of this last seed, the team that I have more faith in this team than I do in Tennessee, than I do in Pittsburgh for sure, than I do in the Chargers, than I do in Baltimore. Because this team is a team, and that is the New England Patriots. The New England Patriots spent the most money they've ever spent in an offseason this past one, more than they ever have with Tom Brady. But they spent a lot of money, but they also went out and drafted a quarterback where teams had picks. Chicago traded up to get Justin Fields. San Francisco wanted Trey Lance. Mac Jones fell to the New England Patriots at 15. The guy who played at Alabama, never lost a game last year as a starter. Dante Smith, his wide receiver, won the Heisman. He won a national championship. Well, he started off slow in the NFL, dinking and dunking the first couple weeks. Started off slow, being 1-3. It looked like a terrible season. But slowly, I'd say a little too slowly, but he started to see a shift where Josh McDaniels has put more on Mac Jones's plate, where he's given him new routes, where he say, I trust you, throw it to Kendrick Bourne out of the field, give a shot to Nelson Aguilar. You're going to run a double hitch, Hunter Henry. Mac Jones is going to throw it to you right on the money, which he's been doing. If you don't follow Dan Orlovsky on Twitter, I recommend that you do. I don't listen to the sound on games, but he's a guy I listen to after because he breaks down film. And if you see at the 13:36 mark of the fourth quarter, when Mac Jones throws his 4th touchdown pass of the game, right on the money to Hunter Henry in double coverage. But I said this was going to be the best game of the weekend, New England and Cleveland. It turned out to not even be a close game whatsoever. Baker only threw for 73 yards, threw an intercept. Wasn't even close. After that first drive where they went on a touchdown drive, Dearness Johnson had 58 rush yards. But what did New England do? They forced turnovers. They got after Baker. They pressured him. And New England, they have 2 veterans and coaches. But this team is being led by 2 rookies. Mac Jones is a rookie quarterback. Rhamondre Stevenson, the stud running back from Oklahoma, is a rookie as well. Mac Jones yesterday went 19 for 23, $198, 3 touchdowns. Not a whole lot of yards, I'll give you that, but he didn't need to because 3 touchdowns. Perfect in the red zone. Kendrick Bourne, 4 for 98, 1 touchdown. Jacoby Myers got his first career touchdown reception yesterday. Hunter Henry had 2 touchdown receptions, both from Mac Jones. Myers got his from Brian Hoyer, who entered the game late, and because the game was so lopsided, 45-7 win. But Rhamondre Stevenson had 20 carries for 100 yards, 2 scores. This is just what they do. This is what they're doing to teams. They're getting more and more confidence as weeks go on. He's giving Mac Jones more opportunities, and they're 6-4. They were 1-3. It looked bleak and now they play Atlanta on Thursday night. But he's getting Kendrick Bourne and Mac Jones have a great connection. Jacoby Myers will catch anything. Hunter Henry is just that perfect red zone guy. He is, he's not Gronk. He's not Darren Waller. He's not Travis Kelce. But in the red zone, he's not going to drop the ball. He's a perfect guy in the red area to throw the ball to. And they don't have great statistics. Mac Jones for the season has 13 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. QBR 94. That's pretty good. Hit a 142.1 QBR yesterday, which is just elite. But he's getting better week after week. Damian Harris was out yesterday. It didn't matter because you had Ramondre Stevenson. Kendrick Bourne is playing great. Kyle Duggar had an forced fumble. Matt Judon has 9 sacks. Didn't have any yesterday, but he's putting so much pressure. J.C. Jackson on the back end. This team is just elite at every position. And to me, I would go, I would, in terms of fear, this division, in terms of trust, I'd have to go Kansas City 1. Because, like I said, I've seen them do it. If I see another, they play the Cowboys this week. That's a massive game for both teams. Could be a statement win for both. If I can see Kansas City's offense play consistently with what they did last night, which includes running the ball a little more often than what they did last night, but in the general scheme, do what you can do. Play consistently good football. That's exactly what you want to see. And I would have New England second for me because there's no coach you should trust more in the NFL than Bill Belichick. That's been proven time after time. Josh McDaniels is a great offensive coordinator. You look at this defense, Tennessee, I can poke holes in. Baltimore, I can poke holes in. I just look at, I said this from the beginning. I like Mac Jones a lot. I think this guy is going to be a quarterback that sticks around this league for a long time, and he's going to win some games. Well, he's already winning games here. He's already getting better. He's by far the best rookie quarterback. And Trevor Lawrence is more talented than Mac Jones. It's not even close. But sometimes it's about fit. Jacksonville, it's a disaster in Jacksonville. They're not going to be any good. Mac Jones goes to a team that spent the most money in the offseason. That went 7-9 last season. They have some stability. They have great coaching. Urban Meyer's in his first year. It's just about fit. And Mac Jones went into the perfect position for him to succeed. And that's all you can ask for as a rookie. You don't want to be thrown into the pit where you can't succeed. Zach Wilson's with the Jets. Is he going to have success there? Who knows? Nobody has. Sam Darnold is now in Carolina, likely done in Carolina. I mean, those Jets years could have killed this quarterback for the long term. Zach Wilson, after seeing Mike White play yesterday, I'm sure he's a little more relieved, looking forward that he's going to be the starter, going to get every opportunity. But at the same time, I'd much rather be in New England, where I got Bill Belichick, I got Josh McDaniels, and you could argue that they were too tentative early, which I would, but they're starting to let them loose now, and it's paying off. So, the New England Patriots, who lost Tom Brady, and Mac Jones is not as good as Tom Brady. Nobody's ever going to make that argument. If they do, tell them to shut up. But can this team make the Super Bowl in the AFC? You better believe it. It would not shock me to see New England get to the Super Bowl because they have every aspect of a team that makes it there. Judon's been in playoff games. He's battled in Baltimore. Mac has never had a playoff start, so that does worry me a bit. But Ryan Tannehill had played one playoff game. It's with the Dolphins. No, sorry, he didn't play. He was injured that game when they lost to Pittsburgh. He hadn't played he hadn't had a playoff start. But in 2019, 2020, Ryan Tannehill suited up for the Tennessee Titans at quarterback and beat Tom Brady in Foxborough. He was not a rookie, but it was his first career playoff start. Patrick Mahomes had a playoff start in his career. Guess what? He won his first one and nearly beat Brady in the second one. Sometimes you're a great quarterback. You're in a great situation. You can overcome that. And to me, I trust Kansas City if they're playing the way they are. New England's next for me. Then I'd probably go Buffalo. But again, I think New England can win that division. I think New England can win the AFC East because Buffalo, I love their defense, but there's just something about them that's missing. They play the Bills. They play the Colts this week at home. Big game for both teams to prove what you can do. But for the Bills, just have some stability. Then they play the Saints on Thanksgiving. So, again, the Bills have a bye. The Bills down the stretch, they play the Patriots on Monday Night Football at home in a couple weeks. That's a great game. Can't wait for that one to see if the Pats can go into Buffalo and keep it interesting. The Bills, they go to Bucs. They got a tough schedule here. They're home to the Panthers. The Patriots do get a bye, I believe, in week 14. The Patriots are on their bye week. They have the latest bye in the NFL this year, so they have a bye week then. The Patriots finish out their season playing. Let's see. Patriots got the Bills again before they play the Bills twice. That's really going to decide it. They play the Jags. You gotta love that, and they finish with the Dolphins at the Dolphins. So they have some, Bills are tough. They play the Falcons. They also play the Tennessee Titans in there. So there's some games to really prove themselves and show what they can do. So that brings us to the bottom of the AFC. And right now, the Los Angeles Chargers would occupy the last remaining playoff spot. But look at this anarchy. So at 7's the Chargers, but tied with the Chargers are the Las Vegas Raiders. Also tied, Cincinnati at 5-4. Then right below them, you have Indianapolis 5-5, Cleveland 5-5, and Denver 5-5. A 32-team league, but you could argue 12 of the 16 AFC teams still have a legitimate chance of making the playoffs. Do I believe Denver's going to make the playoffs? No, I do not. They just, whenever they do something positive, it just goes negative for them. Cleveland. Yesterday was a really disappointing day for the Cleveland Browns. For Baker Mayfield, for that whole team. The way it started, I'm like, this is going to be a really competitive back and forth, but he throws an ugly interception on a second drive. One you just can't throw. I mean, he throws it into double coverage. Next drive, it's a 3-and-out touchdown. On the first 6 possessions the Patriots had, they scored points. That's on the defense, but Baker as well, he just couldn't answer. He took a huge hit late in the game. He got injured. And they're going to need a miracle run because they play Baltimore twice. They do control their destiny because they play Baltimore twice. If they could win those games, which I don't think is completely out of the question because Baltimore is a good team, but they're not. The Browns got the Lions coming up, so that's a very much a winnable game. Then they play the Ravens on Sunday night. Then they have a bye. Coming off that bye, they play the Ravens again. So that's a strange schedule. Then they play the Raiders. Not an easy game. Then they put at the Packers on Christmas. I'm liking this more and more as I read through it. Then they're at the Steelers on Monday night, the last Monday Night Football game of the year. And then they finish against Cincinnati. So they have a very difficult schedule. It's just seeming, like it's not the Cleveland Browns year. I thought before they could go to the Super Bowl, but it just seems to slip away. But Vegas, I mean, all these teams, like the Chargers, they should be better than 5-4, but they just continue to flounder, whatever the hell the word is. You lose to Minnesota yesterday at home. That can't happen. Vegas, you're in cruise control. You throw up an egg against New York Giants, then you play against Kansas City, a good team, but they seem to have the blueprint. Everybody's got the blueprint on the Chiefs in the league, and you let them have air, get some life into them. Honestly, of the Chargers, Vegas, Cincinnati, Indy, and Cleveland, and Denver, I guess, because they're 5-5. I have the most faith in Indianapolis, and that's crazy to say. They survived their game against the Jaguars yesterday. You know, Carson Wentz, he was preparing to have a baby. He didn't have a great game, but they do have Jonathan Taylor, who is arguably the best running back in football. They got the Bills this week, so that's a tough matchup for the Colts. They're still gonna have their bye week, so they got a break coming up. Tough game against the Bills. Then they play the Bucks. So next two games are really tough for the Colts. Then they go with their bye week. They come back. But they got their division stinks. That's my one thing that I like for the Colts is that they play really, really soft teams. You know, they don't have murder's row schedule because they play the Texans. Then they got, let's see. Then they have, where are you, Colts? Then they do get the Patriots. So maybe it's tougher than I thought. Then they play Indianapolis. So they play Arizona. So maybe scratch that thought. I just like their team better than I like the other ones when it comes to their play consistently. I also got the Raiders. They do have a tough schedule, but schedule are deceiving because if you get hot, you can win any game. But when I look at the Colts, I mean, the Chargers play in a tough division because they got to play the Chiefs again. They got to play the Raiders again. I think they got to play the Broncos twice. So that's not easy for the end of the year. Cincinnati, who the hell knows? They play the Raiders in this coming weekend. So could they win that game? Sure. But again, they're coming off a bye week. So this is just wide open. It's chaotic. I think every team's got a pretty difficult schedule. And it's just about survival. You know, Broncos got the Chargers in a couple weeks as they're heading into their bye. Again, I just don't believe in any of these teams, and it doesn't really matter. You know, I don't think it will because if Buffalo plays, for instance, the Chargers, I think Buffalo wins that game. They play Vegas. I think they play Cincinnati. But it's just who can catch fire the most. And I don't think that the team that makes the playoffs can have a great record. Because I look at it and say, I see a lot of losses. I could see it being a 9-8 team make the playoffs for the AFC in that last seed. Just because I don't have faith in any of these teams. And we'll see where it goes from here. But it's going to be interesting. That's what I can promise you. You know, the NFC has good teams. I think there are very few good teams in the AFC, and I mean that. You know, I think Lamar Jackson's a great player. I think as Dirk barks here tonight, I think, I think Josh Allen can be a great player. But to the team, Buffalo should be better than they are. Their defense is elite, but Josh Allen hasn't been what he was last year. Can he find that groove? That would put Buffalo into a new stratosphere. Can Kansas City catch fire here? That's what we have to find out. And for tonight, the big question is what does Odell Beckham Jr. do in his Rams debut? Does he have a big game? Does he emerge as a punt return specialist for this team? Can he do that consistently? I'm looking forward to this game because it's in the Bay Area. You're always going to love to watch a game in San Francisco. And, the Rams are a fun team to watch. I love watching Sean McVay running that offense, spread, the bootleg, play action. You're always going to see something special. And, Odell Beckham being in that jersey, no Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. I'm interested to see the dynamic tonight and how that works for them for the first time at Levi Stadium this evening. So, everyone, thank you for joining me today. I know the past couple of podcasts, I probably haven't sounded the best, so bear with me, and I appreciate you battling through with me as well. Ben Murray will join me later in the week, Thursday, where we talk about Week 11, the NFL. He'll talk about his Patriots. I'm sure he'll be fired up for them to be 6-4, playing well, actually playing on Thursday night, so that's appropriate. He's also a Michigan State Spartans fan, so they're still in the mix to make it to the Final Four. I don't know how they're ranked behind the Michigan Wolverines, but it's another podcast for another day. Looking to do some more podcasts throughout the week as well. So stay tuned. Hopefully my voice and my my nose, everything else gets better throughout the week because it's been a bit of a struggle here lately for yours truly. But I'll be back tomorrow to podcast with Seamus about episodes 3 and 4 of season 5 of Breaking Bad. But until then, stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll chat soon.